The men's hockey team looked to stay undefeated when they hit the road for a tilt versus the Bemidji State Beavers. The Huskies got off to a fast start when senior forward Zach Okabe scored his third goal of the season to put the Huskies up 1-0 early in the first period. The Huskies were able to hold that lead all the way until late in the second period when Bemidji was able to break the seal and tie the game at 1. That would not last long, though, as less than 90 seconds later, the Beavers were able to find the back of the net again to take the lead 2-1. In the third, the Huskies pulled out all the stops to try and preserve the undefeated season, but the Beavers were able to add an empty net goal late and hand the Huskies their first loss of the season by a final score of 3-1. On Saturday, the Huskies looked to bounce back when they hosted the Beavers in the second game of the home-and-home series. The Beavers took an early lead when Martin Mitchell scored just over 2 minutes into the first period. Looking to avoid the sweep, the Huskies responded in the second period. V.D. Miettinen scored to tie the game at 1, and Adam Ingram scored a goal nice enough to get him on SportsCenter's top place, and the Huskies took a 2-1 lead heading into the third. The Huskies kept up the intensity in the third as Yami Kronola scored a shorthanded goal, and Zach Okabe found the back of the net as St. Cloud State won the game 4-1 and proved to 7-1-0 on the season. Keeping things on the ice, the women's hockey team looked to secure their first win in the WCHA when they traveled to Mendota Heights to take on the Tommies of St. Thomas. The first period was dominated by SCSU as they outshot St. Thomas 18-1, but were unable to score. The Huskies were able to open the floodgates in the second period. Klara Himlarova opened the scoring for the Red and Black, then Yanina Newlin scored to double St. Cloud's lead. Himlarova found the back of the net for a second time to make the score 3-0, and Avery Myers capped off a 4-goal period when she scored her first goal as a Husky. St. Thomas would score in the third, but St. Cloud was still able to cruise to a 4-1 victory. On Saturday, the women's hockey team looked to complete the sweep when they hosted the Tommies in the series finale. The Huskies picked up right where they left off as SCSU jumped out to an early 1-0 lead when Yanina Newland scored less than 3 minutes into the game. The Huskies continue to have great offense throughout the game as Himlarova scored her third goal of the weekend, and Emma Gentry tallied 2 goals to the Huskies total to make the score 4-0. The Huskies were also anchored by stellar goaltending from JoJo Chobak. The UMD transferred stopped all 20 shots that came her way, and the Huskies broke out the brooms as they completed the sweep of St. Thomas. Now transitioning from the ice to the pitch, SCSU women's soccer player Jenna Dominguez was named the Offensive Player of the Week by the NSIC. This was announced after Dominguez tallied a pair of goals in the Huskies' regular season finale against UMD, her 7th and 8th goals of the season. The senior forward ranks 10th in program history in career goals with 14, 10th in career points with 38, and is 2nd in career game-winning goals with 8. Start with something truly remarkable. It's an accomplishment to play a sport in college. It's even more impressive to play 2 sports, and it's pretty much unheard of to play 3. But senior multi-sport athlete Carissa Booley is making headlines in her 4th sport. Booley will graduate with a master's degree this spring and is a member of the track, cross country, and Nordic ski teams here at SCSU. But recently, she traveled to Lake Placid, New York to compete in the biathlon in the Winter World University Games. Booley competed in 5 events and was either the first or second American finisher in each of her individual events. Booley says her next goal is to compete in the Olympics. Now let's move over to the Diamond. The SCSU softball team opened their season with a bang last Saturday. The Huskies routed the U-Mary Marauders 12-0 in just 5 innings. While the bats were red hot for the Red and Black, the story of the day was found in the circle. Senior pitcher Trinity Junker achieved perfection on Saturday for just the 5th time in program history. Junker recorded 8 strikeouts and 7 flyouts to pick up her first win of the season. The Huskies went 1-2 over the last 3 games of the weekend, which included a 3-1 loss to Bemidji State, a second win over U-Mary by a score of 10-2, and an 11-1 loss to UMD. St. Cloud is now 2-2 on the year and will return to action on Friday, February 24th, when they travel to Topeka, Kansas for the Washburn Invite. Keeping things on the diamond, the baseball team traveled to the Natural State for a 4-game series against Arkansas Monticello. It was a bad weekend to be a pitcher as 117 combined runs crossed the plate. The Huskies racked up 22 hits and 5 home runs, but dropped Game 1 by a final score of 24-23. The bats remained hot for the Red and Black as they recorded another 22-hit game and came out on top in Game 2, 25-15. Game 3 provided the only normal scoring game as the Huskies jumped out to an early 2-0 lead, but it would eventually lose by a final score of 5-4. The finale of this series was all St. Cloud State as the Huskies poured on multiple runs in big innings, winning the Game 4 19-2 and splitting this marathon of a with playoff implications on the line. The women's hockey team played host to Minnesota State Mankato in the final weekend of the regular season. On Friday, the Huskies were down 1-0 after the first period, but the Red and Black bounced back in the second when Addie Scribner scored her 7th goal of the season to tie the game at 1. Just over a minute later, Klara Himlerova got in on the scoring when she netted 2 goals in the span of 2 minutes to put St. Cloud up 3-1. Courtney Hall capped off the offensive explosion after she scored her 4th goal of the season to give the Huskies a 4-1 lead. The Mavericks would make the game close in the third, scoring 2 goals in 6 seconds, but it would not be enough as the Huskies would add an empty net goal late and win the game by a final score of 6-3. And on Saturday, the Huskies hosted the Mavericks on Senior Day, looking for the series sweep. Addie Scribner opened the scoring for the Huskies yet again when she scored on a snipe right off the faceoff win by Emma Gentry. For the second game in a row, the Huskies' offense took off in the second period. Addie Scribner netted her 2nd goal of the game to double the Huskies' lead. Courtney Hall added on a goal to make the score 3-0, and Grace Wolf capped off the scoring explosion with her 2nd goal of the season. The Mavericks got on the board late in the second, but Yanina Newland responded with her 14th goal of the season as the Huskies cruised to a 5-2 victory. Looking to break out the brooms, the Huskies played host to the Beavers on Hockey Day. It was a defensive struggle through the first 20 minutes as neither team got on the score sheet. The Beavers broke through in the second as Claire Vekic netted her 5th goal of the season to put Bemidji State up 1-0. The Beavers would hold that lead all the way until midway through the second when Addie Scribner scored her 3rd goal in as many games to tie the game. 9 minutes later, Courtney Hall scored on a wraparound as the Huskies were able to complete the comeback and win the game 2-1. On Friday, the Huskies hosted the Mavericks from Minnesota State Mankato. The Mavs jumped out to an early lead in the 10th minute when Mankato midfielder Bryn Dessens was able to sneak the ball past SCSU goalie Evie Cohn to put Mankato up 1-0. This score would hold all the way up until the 81st minute when Megan Kirby found the back of the net for the Huskies to tie the game at 1. The tie would not last long, though, as Mankato would score again in the 85th minute and would hold on to defeat the Huskies by a final score of 2-1 and hand St. Cloud State its first loss since September 11th. On Friday, the Huskies looked to erase their 2-game losing streak when they played host to Upper Iowa. The Huskies got off to a slow start, losing the first set 25-20. St. Cloud wouldn't stay down for long, though, as the dynamic duo of Phoebe Rossi and Kenzie Foley would combine for 32 kills and 16 blocks. This effort led the Huskies to 3 straight set wins and a 3-1 victory for SCSU over Upper Iowa.
Talk about a great response. Pucks on net, never a bad thing. Aiden Spelsey happens to be in the right place at the right time. That's his 4th of the year, 20th of his career, and it's a 1-1 game. Back to you guys. Yeah, guys, what an unbelievable individual effort by Vidi Mienin. Spins away from the defender and is heading down towards the goal line. Just tries to throw one on net, and Pearson, hey, he doesn't close off that short side, and that puck squeaks through. 2-1 Huskies. Sometimes luck's just a little bit better than skill. Point number 99 for Yami Kronila could not have come at a better time. A beautiful saucer pass to the backhand of Mason Salquist. He deposited it top shelf where grandma keeps the cookies, and it's 3-3. Let's go. Whole new game, guys. Back to you. Started off what looked to be just a frustration penalty by Luke Bass. He takes down Grant Cruikshank when he was going to get beat to the puck. St. Cloud State does a great job to be patient with the extra attacker. The shot comes right towards Hellstein. The rebound comes right to Peart. And instead of just throwing it back towards the net, he remains patient, goes forehand, backhand, is able to find the back of the net. What a great job. And now St. Cloud State, another chance to add on here on the power play.
RJ Enga with you. What does RJ have to say about that first period?
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Husky assistant coach RJ Enga. And RJ, it was a tough start. Bassi let up early goal, but what did you like about his ability to rebound and not let in another one in that period?
Well, he did a great job. I mean, they had probably 3 or 4 chances off that 1 4-on-4. So we got to tie up sticks. Our goalie's making that first save. We got to tie up and eliminate those second and third opportunities. But he rebounded well and shut the door the rest of the period.
And what did you like about the effort of the third line to come down and get a quick answer to tie this game up?
Well, I loved it. I mean, it was a great face-off win. The intensity was there. We crashed the net, all the things we kind of talked about as far as our game plan, and they executed and got us going.
Last question for you, Coach. What's the message to the guys going into the second period tied 1-1?
Well, we got to pick up our intensity and win more of these stick battles and win races to the net, beat them to the net.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Coach. Brian and Alex, back to you.
Thank you.
The life of a beloved police officer is being honored. Cold Spring honored the life of Officer Tom Decker this past weekend with a special ceremony. Decker died 10 years ago today after being shot during a welfare check. He left behind a wife and 4 kids. A Cold Spring bridge and post office are renamed in his honor. Money is also being raised for the memorial statue. The fund has raised close to $50,000 so far. 2 new programs are giving extra help to students. The Boys and Girls Club of Minnesota has made 2 new programs to help students in reading and math. They say not even half of students are where they should be in reading, and that number falls even more for students on free or reduced meals. Math scores are much lower. The first program helps students pick out books that suit their reading level and keeps them engaged. The second program is a series of video games and other activities that cover reading and math. The company says students should use the program for 20 minutes at least 2 to 3 times a week to reach grade level. Stearns County officials are investigating a deadly car crash in Linden Township. Officials responded to a call on Thursday morning and found the car in a ditch on County Road 44. A man was found dead and pinned underneath the car. Investigators say he was not wearing a seatbelt. Foley man owes over $200,000 in taxes. According to the Ramsey County Attorney's Office, Grady Shearer has been charged with 57 tax-related felonies. Shearer sold motor cars and other outdoor equipment through Facebook without a Minnesota dealer's license. He didn't file sales tax on those items for many months between 2018 and 2022. Shearer also didn't file individual income tax during that time. Each tax-related felony charge has a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. A sentencing date has yet to be announced.